what I'd like to do is tell you a story. It all began in May 2009 when Zoltan Molnar popped into our office and said that he'd become the latest custodian of this box of slides, which used to belong to Sherrington. I'm not sure I admitted it to him at the time, but I actually didn't have a clue who Sherrington was. I'd heard the name, obviously, because we've got a building named after him, and also because a friend had a cat called Sherrington, which, in what I now understand, was a slightly poor taste joke. Anyway, Zoltan wanted to know whether we could help him to take the material in Sherrington's box and turn it into a website that we could use for teaching medics. And with the help of a bit of software called Zoomify, we built an initial prototype. So I think we have to click here. And you can see, I think we have to do it from over here. I'll have to shout. So basically, you can see what I've done is I've stitched together 3 images taken at different magnifications on the microscope, and then you can zoom in like that. And that works fairly well, except it's quite laborious to do the stitching together. And obviously, as soon as I go out of the central section where we've got a high-powered photograph, we start losing resolution quite quickly out there. So that wasn't going to do the job for the 900 slides in Sherrington's box. Luckily, help came along in the form of a new FENS History of European Neuroscience Project Award. And this basically gave us seed money to allow us to begin to give us access to an automatic slide scanner and begin scanning the first, 200 or 300 of the more interesting slides, such as this one here. And another click. And this, as I'm sure the neuroscientists will recognise, is a Ruffini ending or a Ruffini corpuscle. And if I zoom in here, now you can see I could look at the whole slide in a nice, high resolution image. That was actually a slide that was sent by Ruffini to Sherrington. And I think there is some evidence to suggest that it's actually something that Ruffini may have cut from his own finger or his own hand, possibly. So that in itself, that first prototype that we built wasn't particularly impressive, but it helped us in 2 ways. First of all, it piqued the interest of Dr. Olaf Ansorge, and secondly, it gave us something to show potential funders. Olaf is a consultant neurosurgeon, a consultant neuropathologist in the Department of Neuropathology, and but he's also responsible for something called the External Quality Assurance Exercise for the British Neuropathological Society, which in the past used to involve sending round matching sets of glass slides around the country to pathologists. They would then look down their own microscopes at them and then submit their diagnosis based on those slides for an assessment. In November 2010, we met to discuss whether he might be able to use our prototype website to do that whole process online, so the pathologist could look at the slides online and submit their diagnoses online. There was, I think, some scepticism initially, but eventually in by September 2011, we had done our first proper circulation. And then since then, it's been running continually. Initially, the glass slides were also sent around in parallel, but I think the last circulation that we did, there were no glass slides. It was an online-only assessment. So while we were working on Olaf's EQA system, we realised that if we were going to be able to tackle the whole of Sherrington's box and produce a website which was sort of useful for historical purposes, we needed to get some money from somewhere. So the Wellcome Trust's Research Resources in Medical History project began, and that was something that Zoltan and I put together with Pietro Corsi and Richard Brown. And that had 4 strands: scanning slides, historical research, software development and outreach. I'm just going to very quickly talk about each of those in turn. So slide scanning, with the help of staff up at the JR and some summer students, we managed to scan in the rest of the 900 plus Sherrington slides, plus a collection of Le Gros-Clark's teaching slides, and then some pilot collections from UCL, the Hunterian in Glasgow, the Wellcome Library, and also a small part of Ida Mann's ophthalmology collection, which is quite extensive. In total, that was about 1,200 slides. It also allowed us to bring in the expertise of 2 historians, Dr. Tom Quick, who you're going to hear from later, and Dr. Philip Bealey. And their job really was to try and put the slides in their historical context. And thanks to them, really, we've now got 666 items of Sherrington and slide-related correspondence on the website, 400 of which have got scanned online copies of the letters with them. And I'll show you one of those in a moment. The other thing that Tom and Philip accomplished was to make us completely redesign the C-slide system that we'd started working on. And working with them, I say we, but it's actually probably mostly down to John Mason, who's sitting over there, who's done most of the work on this. We've produced what we believe is a unique historical repository, because not only can you describe and categorise the individual artefacts in these historical collections, but also you can describe the nature of the relationship between those artefacts. So if I show you, if we go back to this Ruffini corpuscle, if you look a bit further down the page from the zoomable slide, you can see that down here we're showing that it's related to a letter here from Sherrington to Ruffini. I click on that. You can see the letter itself scanned in. You can see information about who sent it from and to, where they were. And then down here there's also information about people mentioned in the letter and other slides that that letter might be related to, with an indication of how strong we think that relationship is with those ticks. The system is designed to be an open system for anyone to be able to contribute to it. You just have to sign up for an account. So if you have any colleagues who are interested, we'd be happy to show you how to get started with it. The hunt for, last strand of the project was we got to work with the very talented Lizzie Burns, who I think some of you have met in the Cortex Club. Did she do a session in the Cortex Club? She's basically done a series of workshops and with schools and with the public related to Sherrington's work. And in our website, you can see this is a section of the website dedicated to the work she's done. That's her there with some school children. And you can download here activities for teachers to do with their classes. And those activities are also on the Times Education Resources website. So while we were searching around the Sherrington building looking for letters and things related to the slides, we came across loads and loads of scientific instruments hidden away in various cupboards. And we were then very lucky to be able to get a second FENS grant this time to take 3D images of some of these historical objects. Which look like this. So you can rotate these things around to see them, a bit like an estate agent's website these days, basically. You can zoom in on bits that you find more interesting, and some of them have been photographed from different angles, so you can see them from different perspectives. My little group's job in the university is actually not neuroscience and external quality assurance. We're here to provide technology for teaching and learning within the medical sciences division. And although these historical slides are undoubtedly useful for teaching, we thought we should be able to do more. So we've scanned in the teaching collections from the neuroanatomy and histology courses for medics, and those are inserted into their, I won't take you to the website, but those are inserted into their existing online materials. And then in summer 2013, we were lucky enough to get a Medical Sciences Division Teaching Excellence Project Award, which let us buy 35 tablets so that for mobile learning and assessment spaces. And basically, these mean that in histology practicals, we can hand out tablets, and I've put a few up here so you can see what they look like. But basically, we put those at the end of the students' benches, and then they, or the demonstrators, can look at those and talk about the slides on those, rather than having to play sort of musical chairs with the microscope, which is often not very convenient. So then the last thing I just want to talk about is, while we were applying for the Wellcome funding, we also, with OLAF, applied for some funding from the Nuffield Oxford Hospital Fund to get some money to buy ourselves an automated slide scanner. So with that money and the money we've had from the Wellcome project, we were able to buy this high throughput Aperio slide scanner, which is now sitting up in the Department of Neuropathology in the JR. And as well as allowing us to carry on scanning teaching slides and any more historical slides that we come across, that is also supporting quite a lot of research. There's been 25 different neuropathology and neuroanatomy research projects helped by that machine so far. It's been involved in a very large Oxford-led multi-centre clinical trial to do with temporal arteritis. And I think in total it's scanned about 6,000 slides to date. So what next, basically? It's an open system, so we are still encouraging other people to join in by uploading their own slides and materials, and I think Tom Quick is in fact going to be using the system for his next research project. We're continuing to work to sort of give access to slides outside the laboratory with the Department of Pathology, Department of Cellular Pathology, and the Nuffield Division of Clinical Laboratory Sciences. And we're doing helping with some new materials for cellular pathology trainees across the Thames Valley region, all with the same system. So I think when you look at all of the activities that have emerged from that initial conversation with Zoltan in 2009, it's clear that Sherrington's legacy has not just been to lay the foundations for modern neuroscience, but also through this rather unusual vector of this slide box to sort of catalyse applying new technologies to teaching of research in and public engagement with neuroscience and neuroscience history. And that's all I wanted to say, really. If you'd like...